I agree.
And
I
I agree with your point. I don't know why I'm agreeing with Lou so much on this podcast. It's very disconcerting, right? But that's
especially
actually
what he
my
said
point.
about you.
It
My
was the
point,
sex last night, baby.
my point is not that oh it's a
Why
myth
wasn't I
that black
invited?
people are targeted more by the police, right? Like it's like I'm firmly on board, like that is a true thing. But at the same time, there's a complexity of the conversation. And that 15-year study, was it Roland Emery? Is that his name? He's a professor of economics at Harvard. But apparently, and I was shocked. And look, I don't know if it's true. I didn't do the study, okay? But he's black, and he said it was the most surprising result of his career, and that there's actually more white people being shot by the police than black people every single year. Now,
it's Roland G. Fryer.
Roland Fryer, there you go. So apparently, look, I think black people are like 8-9% of the US population. White people are, 30, 50, something like this. So percentage wise, it's still black people being shot at a higher rate, but it's at a much lower rate than they're being sort of aggressively arrested. And I've watched, I swear to God, like 10, 15 interviews with cops in the last week where they're like, the last thing they want to do is to shoot somebody who's black for any reason, because
you're not positing that's a bad thing, right? You're not positing that that's a bad thing.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying it adds complexity to the debate, right?
I agree. And Bobby, I'm glad you brought it up. And as a matter of fact, I would urge you to continue to look at those studies and bring up studies that challenge these opinions, because it's true. Like there was a recent video about a bicyclist who was, the police wanted him to stop, but he didn't. So the police bumped him. The bicyclist fell off his bike. The cops got out of the car. The bicyclist, terrified for his life, got into the police car. And then the police officers grabbed him and beat the shit out of him. And he was a white guy. Like, I assumed it was a story about a black guy about to get murdered, but no. So of course this stuff happens. And of course, because of the population of America with 300 whatever million people, there are going to be more incidents between the police and white people. Absolutely.
Here's my issue. I don't want to defend the way police treat black people. That is not at all what I'm arguing. We know. Right? But what I am arguing is that, quite frankly, it's about the media. I think that there's a media bias toward victimizing black people in our society, which is sort of bolstering some of these Black Lives Matter protests, which are badly needed, right? And yet sometimes are sort of turning into riots and criminality. There's a line.
Wow. This is how I would disagree. This is how I would disagree, because I agree sometimes that the media can clamp onto something and then go too far with it, and all of a sudden the society is excited about something that's not that important. I agree. However, sometimes there are some incidents between the police and people of color that are so radically shocking that the media simply reports it, and we are of course horrified by it.
Sure, George Floyd is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that every day that there are people who are being killed and trampled by the police. It's just that every now and again, there's one incident that makes people go, "Oh my God, that just seems so unjust."
But do we really believe the media is objective? We don't think that they're buying.
There's no such thing as objective. There's never been objective. It's a silly word.
They're selling a story, and that story has, and I'm not saying it's even an untrue story, but it's definitely like fueling this anger. Like I saw that Toronto Star article, and I go, like, what do you get out of that? What do you get out of that? You just create more anger. You create more violence.
What happens, Bobby, is that people who have had a history going back generations, and that's just not black people, that goes to any people that have had a history of what's considered in the community, persecution, oppression, all the rest of it, whose traditional relationship with the police has been relatively violent and, from a community point of view, oppressive, that you do anything can set off that anger. That anger has been festering for centuries. So the idea that somehow you're creating a boiling pot, right, through your reportage. No, No, it was on the
agree.
simmer before.
I think that what the media does on occasion is they'll bring light to something that happened that is very true, and they don't actually have any opinion on it one way or the other, and it simply ignites something within the community. Like there was but here's the thing, all the studies that are done, like you can do a million studies about police or whatever, and oh, black people aren't that, harassed by the police or not. But I think you can talk about studies all you want, but then there's just the objective reality of black people's experience. And there was one video that I saw on YouTube, and if I can find it, I'll give you guys the link, that made that manifest. It made it very clear.
But the media contributes to
Let
that.
him finish.
Wait, hold on a second.
Let him finish. If we're going to let you finish, let people finish.
And you let me finish too, Lewis.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I'm
not
black,
talking
damn
to
it. I'm not going to let you.
Wait, because it's actually an interesting point. And this is something that actually, this is a video that has not been picked up by the media. This is just something I saw on YouTube. In the States, there are some states that have open carry laws. So what that means is you can carry a gun as long as it's out in the open, as long as people can see it. And you can carry any kind of gun. You can carry a rifle, you can carry a machine gun, whatever. So that these two YouTubers did a social experiment. I think they were crazy, but they did it. They had a white guy walk around with a machine gun, or was it a rifle, or like a.
It was a machine gun.
Yeah, okay.
I saw this. It was an
You
AR-15.
saw this? Yeah.
Yes.
So the white guy walks around with a machine gun, walking around. Police officer goes, "Hey there, just wanted to ask you, like, what are you up to?" And the guy said, "Oh, I'm just going to the store. Open carry. This is an open carry state." And the officer was like, "Okay, just wanted to know, whatever." And then a black guy, God bless him, walking down the street, open carry with a machine
AR-15.
gun. A police car comes out, a cop jumps out of his car, boom, gun pointed at him, get to the ground. 5 other police cars come around, like he's surrounded by people. The black guy's lying on the ground going, like, please, he didn't say anything. He was just like, "Sir, yes, sir, no problem." Lay down on the ground. They took the machine gun away from him, and they with the gun pointed at him, they said, "What are you doing? What's going on here?" And he's like, "It's an open carry state. I was just walking around." And they were like, "Okay, well, we're taking your machine gun. You can just go now." And so that's just
I
the
agree.
reality.
Here's my point, and don't misconstrue. And I understand it's a loaded subject, very emotional, okay?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think this is a very important conversation, okay? Because I'm not arguing against that perception, okay? My point is more complex. I'm saying that the media is complicit in creating that perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
For both the cops and the citizens. So
Okay.
I think that if you're continually getting images, right, that it's like black people are criminals and white people need to, are killing them, or whatever the thing is, there's a constant narrative, then you start to believe these things. And so now you literally have 15-year-old like people of color talking about reparations for slavery that happened 100 years ago. You have people in Canada talking about reparations for American politics from a century ago. So where does that come from? Well, that comes from education, that comes from history, that comes from the perception of which they're largely getting from the media. So the media has a big hand in this. This is my point.
Bobby, okay, make your point and then I'll make a point.
Okay. My issue with what you're saying is that I'm not getting a sense that your argument contextualizes the history, the long-term, and I don't know if you know that history, and maybe that's not why you're contextualizing. Okay, so I'm just benefit of the doubt. To suggest that recent occurrences by the media are responsible for a historical reality multiple centuries in the building, right? And one, oppression, while it may make you tougher, does not make you a nicer person.
Tell you what, Bobby, here's the thing. Bobby, I hate to break this to you, but our own show participates in exactly what you're talking about with our segment, our weekly segment.
Oh dear.
Todd hates white people. You think the media is bad? Dude, one finger pointed at you, 3 fingers pointed at us. Okay.
I just wanted to say that you're perpetuating a media trope that engages us all in violence.
So really depends upon before we hop into that, there is one point I wanted to bring. Bobby's absolutely right. There is complete media bias on whichever side you're on. I mean, for every picture of people looting at protests, there's to flick the channel and there's Trump's unmarked National Secret Service guards throwing a line of moms into a van. So it's one of the things. One thing again, back to Andrew's point, that with that social experiment, my argument has always been, if you want to solve the gun problem in America, it is not less guns, it's more guns, and it's more NRA subscriptions in the hands of black people that will just make that go away. It's like, hey, we saw an uptick, a severe uptick, like millions of people. Okay, who's buying them? Black people. Uh-oh. And that's
got to get rid of guns.
Yeah, we got to get rid of that.
One more point I wanted to add to that, though, and Bobby, this also, this could actually support your point. The media doesn't do an in-depth investigation, most media outlets, of police agent provocateurs, right? Like, which the FBI was famous for in COINTELPRO, in setting up Black Panthers and setting up riots. And this has been around the world. This is an aspect of policing that's relatively unpublished or unexplored. So yeah, I can see that bias does not give us the total picture of what's going on in the streets today.
That's my only point, right? Now,
Yeah.
with that said, I have enough black friends who've been arrested just driving or harassed that I know it is a real thing. But for me, it's a question of, okay, but why? Like, that's what I'm interested in. Why is this keep happening?